Greetings crew and welcome to the Shine Wellbeing Veg Patch. It's autumn here, let's go for a tour. So this magnificent structure is the entry to the Shine Wellbeing Patch, and on this side we have some choco plant. This is a single plant and it is just loving its life. We have a stainless steel wire system that we've laced through here, and you'll see it kind of feeds across into these screwed in eyelets and then zigzags its way down, making this a really good strong permanent structure for anything that is weighty and needs that extra support, like a choco. On this side we have the passion fruit, two different varieties, Panama red, and then we've also got the just a black non-grafted, so two different types growing here. This is the structure that we've set up to create, you know, the opportunity for the plant to climb up comfortably, and we just weave the plant in and out as it starts to grow. The choco is still continuing on, and I'm sort of allowing it to sprawl out, and I will go and trail it on that fence on the border there. We've got leeks coming up, and I'm basically just harvesting these. They were planted much thicker, and then I just take out the every second one, and that's a really great way to be able to use your leeks and keep them growing for a longer period of time. Two lots of kale. Personally, I'm not a lover of the tags being left out. This is for me. Everyone should do what they need to do, but for me, so I tuck them in here. So this one is a purple Russian kale. It's lovely kale, grows really nicely. And then this one here is a blue Scotch, and it's a dwarf variety and quite a nice kale as well. Silver beet, and then a white cauliflower here in the back. So this is the beginning of our autumn garden. The tomato here has been set up to sort of run along the fence of the border bed, and you can see it's coming to an end, and I'll take off the remaining fruit from this this week and start to work on some relishes. Worm kitchen is in place, and here we've got some garlic chives to go in the ground today. More chocos, because I do love chocos. These guys were actually just an individual choco from the shop. I sprouted it in the drawer, popped it in the ground, and this is the result. Beautiful, deep green, lush foliage, which is amazing to look at, but the vegetable fruit is even better. So, and I have it set up here on this trellising system, which is quite different to the stainless steel. This is paracord hooked into eyelets, which are screwed into a piece of timber. This is a 30 by 18 piece of timber, nothing too special, and I've just take that piece of timber and have screwed it into the actual frame of the bed, and that's what keeps this nice and sturdy and quite reliable for the choco. This vertical type of trellising is useful for this style of plant because it has the tendrils, so it finds its own way. And then you'll notice there's a bit of a space here, and this space is created so that this creates almost a curtain-like effect, which I really like the aesthetic of, but it's also a practical element to it as well, which is what most of the garden is about. You know, this merger between the beauty of the garden and also the functionality and practicality of the garden and the productivity of the garden. So this space here allows me to be able to grab the weeds and toss them into the worm kitchen with ease. But if I made this a full space, it means that I wouldn't be able to do that. So part of it is aesthetic, part of it is practicality. We've got potatoes coming along nicely. These guys were just some old potatoes from in the drawer. They were starting to sprout, weren't looking so great, and so I thought, why not take a chance on them and shove them in the ground. This is life itself. You can't beat a good potato, and I cannot wait to get stuck into these. Sorry guys. This little beauty looks just like a little jar, and and some tongs. But this is the slug and snail harvester. So when I go around and have a look at the garden each day, I'm not just enjoying the beauty of the garden and picking a bit of produce and you know, tiptoeing through the tulips. I'm hunting for those critters that are going to be taking away some of the value of our produce. The tongs save me getting the slimy little critters on my hands, and then I carry that on down to the chickens, much to their delight and much to the dismay of the snails and slugs. So a little sad that side of it, but it's a natural way to manage pests. Here we have the irrigation line that comes up. So this is the feed line with an isolation valve. Now this is something that I have on all of the garden beds, and this allows me, if this bed was dormant over a period of time, I'd have the ability to turn the water off but still run every other bed independently, which is something you want to think about when it comes to your irrigation systems. Gardening without irrigation is almost like trying to brush your teeth just with toothpaste. It's a much harder process. So, you know, consider organizing drip irrigation or some kind of irrigation system to make your life easier, because it will give you the edge when it comes to creating a bountiful garden. And who doesn't want that? We have our delicious row of kale. Now this kale I grew from seed, and it is really, there would be so much more kale if we didn't have the pest that's actually eating the kale. And I guess I have to fess up, that pest is me. I'm the biggest pest in the garden, because this is our lifeline. Every morning I make a smoothie for my favorite human, also known as my hubby, and myself, and you know, handfuls and handfuls of kale go into that. So let's come and have a look at the 4 1800 square beds now. So these are dotted throughout, as you can see, and they tend to house more of our bulk crops. So let's have a look at that now. Check out the corn. This isn't a great big space, but it's certainly producing masses and masses of corn. The cobs themselves are quite large. You know, as these silks die off, that tells us that the corn's getting nearly ready to nom 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 nom, and just can't wait for that moment. We'll have a look at it this weekend and see what we get, and I'll be sure to do a video sharing that experience of eating our first lot of corn from the Shine Bean patch. Can't wait. Here comes the rain, and we're going to keep going. Let's have a look at the cucumbers. Cucumbers are coming towards the end of their journey this year, and we've still got plenty on here. Beautiful, big, juicy cucumbers. You can't beat these. These go into my smoothie every single morning, and boy, what a difference they make in comparison to shop bought cucumbers. You'll notice here that we do have the same trellising system that was set up on with the chocos. Same overall system, different kind of cord. This is just jute cord, and I personally am not a big fan of it. I find that for me, the jute just doesn't seem to sit as tightly as the paracord, and so things get a little messier. So that is going to be a change for next time. So the cucumbers are coming to an end, and so I've started to shift them across a little, and that's why they're looking a bit ratty and bunched up on this side. I've started planting out in this bed, and as they start to deteriorate, I'll keep taking up more and more space for autumn crops. But these are radishes. I think they're a red round, and they are they've hit the ground running. They've gone in a week ago and they're looking really, really well. So won't be long and we'll be enjoying those. This is bed 4 of the 18 by 1800 beds, and we've got more silver beet, some dahlias. These dahlias are just about to burst into flower. Quite spectacular. These were just seedling dahlias. Celery, which is a big part of the morning smoothie, so this gets constantly harvested time and time again. Every day numbers of stems are pulled out and popped into the smoothie, and you know, you just can't beat the beauty of rain on your produce and then taking it into the kitchen to utilize. I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that. Carrots are the next one in this bed, and these guys were grown from seed. I always grow my root crops from seed purely because we're trying to work on the production of the root, and when you transplant you do get damage for the roots. Let's have a look at how the carrots are actually going. Oh, I'd say that's a success, wouldn't you? Beautiful, straight, gorgeous carrots. The smell coming from that carrot is amazing. Look, I can't wait to get into that. That's getting a wash. I'm not even going to skin it. I'm going to strip off that little extra bit of root and nom nom nom. That is practically gone. Thank you, Shimel being Veg Patch. I love you. Dahlias, of course, because what would a garden be without dahlias? In the back, some garlic chives have just been put in there. Previously, we had a lot of cos lettuce, but now that's come to an end, so that's been pulled out. More dahlias, different varieties, silver beet, and some rhubarb. The rhubarb has done especially well here, but previously I've had zero success with rhubarb. I've put in that many plants into the garden and nothing's really worked. This time is different, and I guess the big difference that I can see is that, I mean, they were planted intermittently throughout this bed, so there's not much that's different. The soil's the same, everything's the same. Only variable is that I put it near the worm kitchen, and I believe that that has really supported this enormous amount of growth. This is a really small plant just a few months ago. We started with our autumn crops here, and we have some more kale gone in. This is Tuscan kale, and we do go through quite a lot of that. More of the silver beet because, I mean, what's life without silver beet? And we constantly harvest this, not only for ourselves, but for greens for the chickens and greens for the compost crew, also known as guinea pigs. Beetroot is coming into its own at the moment, and you can really see there's just so much growth happening here. Look at that. That will be going in and being roasted. I might slide that guy off and see if he'll go back in. So here we have the purple sprouting broccoli. These guys aren't doing amazing things at the moment. They've only been in the ground for a week, so we'll see how they go. I'm sure they'll come into their own very shortly. More chilies, more dahlias, another marigold, and then we move into more autumn crops here, just gone in last week, and these are the white cauliflowers, so fingers crossed they come through for us. Check out this guy. This is the sweet potato, and it is obviously vigorous. Really lovely, gorgeous green foliage. These offcuts, shoots you can use and basically just feed to the compost crew or compost them. So it's not just about what's under the ground in terms of the sweet potato, it's also about what is above the ground and how you can utilize that. So your sweet potato, this one is an heirloom variety. It's white flesh with a purple fleck, and it just looks lovely in stews and soups, roasted, amazing flavors. And I only harvest the sweet potato as I need one, so I'm always getting it fresh from the garden. Welcome to stage 2 of the Shine Wellbeing Veg Patch. Here's the grand tour. Grass and a few garden beds. Not much happening at this point, but over the next few weeks this area is going to go blooming mad, and I cannot wait to share the whole thing with you. But you've got to use your imagination, because this is what it used to be, and now it's this. So we're doing the garden in stages because it gives us a chance to catch up, make sure that we can maintain what we're creating step by step. And this is something really important to think about in your own garden experience. Sometimes the ideas are so much greater than our capacity to maintain, and you've got to have the ability to keep it weeds under control and keep it watered, and actually harvest the produce and utilize it. So, you know, this is why we didn't start off with a bigger plan. Obviously we do have a grander plan, but it's only going to unfold as long as each area is able to be managed and utilized effectively, because we don't want to just create something and end up with a whole heap of waste. So this area is going to be the home of more beds just like this. You're going to get to see how we make the beds, how we fill them, how we pop the worm kitchens in, how we populate them with the plants and get it looking like from this to this. Come on, let's have a look. Over here you'll notice we've got the gathering space. So this is a deck area that's designed so that we can enjoy a place to harvest from, a place to sit, and a place to do some yoga and enjoy some of the beauty of the space without having to be working in the space. And this will have a roof over the top in time, which will make it even more useful. And here we have the stage 2 border bed. So it's the first bed to go in, and you'll notice there's a passion fruit just kind of kicking along the ground. That's because these timbers here are going to go up and make another arbor, the same as what you see in the background there, where the chocos were growing. And so we'll do the same lace work of the stainless steel wire, but that will come once this structure gets put into place. Sweet potato is popped in the ground here. This is an orange flesh sweet potato, and you'll notice, oh, here we've got a bit of a old dead leaf. That's the beauty of your worm kitchens, is that when you see debris or waste, and as you're wandering around, that doesn't just sit there and you're thinking, oh, I'll have to come back and pick that up. You've got your bin. You can just shove it straight in to your worm kitchen. The worms will love you for it, and it keeps things nice and tidy. One of the hardest things with a veg patch, I believe, or in my experience in the past, is just to try and keep it neat, orderly, and maintained. And that's why I have these different systems in place. The irrigation system is another key element to the success of the Shine Wellbeing Veg Patch. And I use a couple of different easily available items. What do we got? We have in the back here our feed line. This is a 13 mil standard poly pipe. You can pick that up very cheaply, and then you'll see these little square fittings. These square fittings are called a double barb joiner, and they're a 4 mil fitting. So they plug into your feed line plug into your drip line, and then your drip line runs into your garden. You'll notice your drip line has these little emitters, and these aren't just holes, they're actually engineered to allow the water to drip out slowly, and so it is economical with your water usage. The way that I set up my irrigation is probably different to ways that other people do, and there's no right or wrong to it, but this is what I found has worked best. I use the emitters to be the markers for my plantings, and so you'll notice that as I pop that down, there's an emitter for each of the plants that are there. I used this simple bit of fencing wire, used to be straight, cut it to a length, bent it by hand, and then that's how I pin my irrigation into place. These here are purple sprouting broccoli, and they've only been in for a week, so we'll see how they go. The beauty of setting up the irrigation in this way is that if I had a plant here that needed extra water, I can simply shift it over so that it's going to be doubling up the water load for that particular plant. The other advantage to it is that I can pop the pin out at any time, lift it up, get in here, weed, mulch, do what I need to do, fertilize, whatever it is, and then I can just pop it back down. Super easy. So if you want to see all of this chaos turn into this and a gorgeous, abundant mass of life and life-giving deliciousness, then like and subscribe so that you can witness the journey with us. Have a beautiful day. Thanks so much for joining me. Shine on.